Hey hockey fans, today we're diving into one of the biggest what-ifs in recent NHL history. The saga of John Tavares. From first overall draft pick to franchise savior to, well, let's just say things didn't quite go according to plan. Buckle up because this story of loyalty, betrayal, and karma is wilder than a hat trick in overtime. Picture this, it's 2009 and the New York Islanders are in desperate need of a hero. Enter John Tavares, the most hyped prospect since Sidney Crosby. The Islanders select him first overall, pinning all their hopes and dreams on this 18-year-old phenom from Ontario. At first, everything seems perfect. Tavares lives up to the hype, becoming the face of the franchise and leading the team in scoring year after year. The Islanders start to climb out of the NHL basement, making the playoffs and even winning a series in 2016, their first in 23 years. But little did Islanders fans know their beloved captain was about to break their hearts in the most spectacular way possible. In the summer of 2018, Tavares, the chosen one, becomes an unrestricted free agent and leaves the Islanders high and dry to sign a massive 7-year, $77 million contract with his hometown Toronto Maple Leafs. Islanders fans are devastated. Toronto fans are ecstatic. And Tavares? Well, he's about to learn a harsh lesson about how the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, the Maple Leafs are a storied franchise. Surely this was a smart move for Tavares. And how wrong you'd be. Let's break down the aftermath of the decision. Since Tavares left the Islanders in 2018, let's compare the two teams' performances. The Islanders, supposedly doomed without their captain, have won 6 playoff series. The Maple Leafs, a grand total of 1. Ouch. That's right, the team Tavares abandoned has consistently outperformed his new squad. The Islanders made it to the Eastern Conference Finals in back-to-back years in 2020 and 2021, coming within a whisker of the Stanley Cup Finals. Meanwhile, Toronto, well, they've become experts at first-round exits. But surely Tavares himself has thrived in Toronto, right? Well, not exactly. His offensive numbers have remained remarkably consistent, almost identical to his last 5 years with the Islanders. So much for that offensive explosion playing alongside Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner. Let's dive into those numbers a bit. In his last 5 seasons with the Islanders, Tavares averaged .98 points per game, .42 goals per game, and .56 assists per game. Fast forward to his first 5 seasons with the Maple Leafs, and what do we see? A nearly identical .98 points per game, .43 goals per game, and .55 assists. Talk about consistency. But when you're being paid $11 million a year, consistency isn't quite enough. You're expected to elevate your game to new heights. Speaking of Matthews, here's where the story takes another twist. Fast forward to August 2024, and the Maple Leafs drop a bombshell. They're stripping Tavares of his captaincy and giving it to Auston Matthews. Talk about adding insult to injury. Tavares, once the face of the franchise, is now playing second fiddle on a team that can't get out of the first round. And to make matters worse, he's entering the final year of that massive contract with his future uncertain. So let's recap. Tavares leaves the team that drafted him, watches them have more playoff success without him, fails to elevate his new team, loses his captaincy, and now faces an uncertain future. Is this the worst free agent decision in NHL history? It's certainly in the conversation. But here's the kicker. The Islanders, led by Lou Lamoriello, used the money they would have spent on Tavares to build a deeper, more well-rounded team. They might not have a superstar, but they've proven that sometimes the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Now, as we look to the 2024-25 season, Tavares finds himself at a crossroads. At 34 years old, he's no longer the dynamic force he once was. The Maple Leafs are in a cap crunch, and there's no guarantees they'll be able to or even want to re-sign him when his contract expires. So what's next for Tavares? A return to the Islanders seems unlikely. That bridge is probably burned. A pay cut to stay in Toronto? A fresh start with a new team? Retirement? Well, only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, the decision to leave the Islanders will forever be a what-if moment in NHL history. And I'm curious what you think would have happened if he would have stayed. Put it in the comments down below. Now, it's important to note that hindsight is 20/20. At the time, many thought Tavares was making a smart move. The Maple Leafs were on the rise, loaded with young talent. But as we've seen time and time again in sports, there's no such thing as a sure bet. Let's take a moment to talk about Tavares as a player in person. Despite the disappointment in Toronto, he's still an immensely talented center. His work ethic is legendary, teammates often marvel at his dedication in training and preparation, and off the ice, Tavares is known for being quiet and unassuming. He's not one for flashy quotes or controversy. In many ways, he's the prototypical Canadian hockey player, humble, hardworking, and focused on the game. But perhaps that low-key personality has worked against him in Toronto. In a market that craves star power and personality, Tavares can sometimes fade into the background, especially when compared to the more charismatic Matthews or flashy Marner. It's worth noting that Tavares' decision to leave the Islanders wasn't just about money or winning. It was also about fulfilling a childhood dream. Growing up in the Toronto area, Tavares had always imagined playing for the Maple Leafs. When the opportunity presented itself, the emotional pull was strong. But as we've seen, sometimes chasing a dream can lead to unexpected consequences. The irony of Tavares' situation is palpable. He left a team on the rise for what he thought was a better opportunity, only to watch his former team surpass his new one. The Islanders, under the guidance of Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello, transformed into a defensive powerhouse and a perennial playoff threat. Meanwhile, the Maple Leafs, despite their regular season success, continued to falter when it mattered most. Let's not forget the reaction of the Islanders fans when Tavares returned to Long Island for the first time as a Maple Leaf. The boos were deafening, the signs were brutal, and the atmosphere was toxic. Tavares, once the beloved face of the franchise, was now persona non grata. It was a stark reminder of how quickly things can change in the world of professional sports. As we approach the 24-25 season, Tavares finds himself in a precarious position. With just 1 year left on his contract and the captaincy now in Matthews' hands, he's no longer the centerpiece of the Maple Leafs' plans. The team is facing tough decisions with the salary cap, and Tavares' $11 million hit is looking more and more like an albatross. There's also the question of Tavares' legacy. Had he stayed with the Islanders, he might have gone down as the greatest player in franchise history. He could have been the one to lead them back to glory, potentially even ending their Stanley Cup drought. Instead, he's now at risk of being remembered as the guy who abandoned ship right before it started to sail smoothly. But let's not write off Tavares just yet. He's still a talented player with a lot to offer. If he can accept a reduced role and potentially a pay cut, he could still be a valuable piece for a contending team. And who knows, maybe he'll find a way to lead the Maple Leafs on a deep playoff run in his contract year, rewriting the narrative of his time in Toronto. As we wrap up this tale of hockey heartbreak, let's remember that Tavares is still a phenomenal player. He's scored over 400 NHL goals, been to multiple All-Star games, and represented Canada at the Olympics. His career, by any measure, has been a success. But in the high-stakes world of professional sports where legacy and championships matter most, Tavares' decision to leave the Islanders may forever be seen as a crucial misstep. It's a cautionary tale about how the grass isn't always greener, and a reminder that sometimes the best place for a player is right where they started. In the end, Tavares' story is one of what-ifs and unfulfilled potential. What if he had stayed with the Islanders? What if the Maple Leafs had managed to break their playoff curse? What if he had chosen a different team in free agency? These questions will likely haunt Tavares and hockey fans for years to come. As we look to the future, it's clear that the next chapter of Tavares' career will be crucial in defining his legacy. Will he bounce back and prove the doubters wrong, or will he fade into the background, remembered more for his contract than his on-ice achievements? Only time will tell. But I want to know what you think. Was Tavares' decision to leave the Islanders the worst free agent move in NHL history? Or is there still time for him to rewrite the narrative? It's a debate that's sure to rage on in ice hockey circles and in the comments below. The saga of John Tavares serves as a powerful reminder that in the world of professional sports, loyalty is a rare commodity, and decisions made in the pursuit of glory can have unforeseen consequences. It's a lesson that future free agents would do well to remember. Hey, until next time, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more of our upcoming content. And speaking of content, check out one of our other 2 videos right here.